Good evening. I have 6:31. I'll call to order this meeting of the City of Columbus Plan Commission for Thursday, September 20th, 2018. Matt, could you please take a roll call for us?
Hanson,
Present.
Tylen,
Here.
Monday. Here. Tolton,
Here.
Zapataki.
Here.
Parker and Robbins are excused.
All right. Thank you. This meeting has been noticed appropriately according to state statutes and local ordinances. Next item then would be to approve our agenda for the evening.
So moved.
Have a motion and a second to approve the agenda. Any discussion on that? If none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Then the next item is the approval of the minutes from our August 16th meeting. Copy of those minutes in your packet. Unless there's any suggestions or changes for the minutes, I'll take a motion to approve them.
Motion to approve the minutes of the Plan Commission regular meeting Thursday, August 16th, 2018.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the minutes from our last meeting, August 16th. Any discussion on that? If none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Minutes are approved. Citizen comments. I see no citizens present. You can speak during the agenda item if you want, Steve.
Okay.
All right. Then on to unfinished business. Item A, consider recommendation to the Common Council on the site plan for Lot 10 of the Woods at Highland Ridge. I was not at the last meeting, so my understanding is that this item was tabled to this meeting. And Matt, I think I'll just turn it over to you. You've got a good summary in here of what's occurred between that meeting and this.
So, just bring it back, because I know not everybody here was at the last meeting. The PUD for the Woods at the Highland Ridge was adopted originally not via ordinance, and that was the determining factor to making sure it came to Plan Commission instead of Board of Zoning Appeals. After a conversation with City Attorney Paul Johnson, it was determined that the way that this variance would get approved would be through the Plan Commission and then Common Council. So that's why it is before this group. With that, we brought it to the August meeting, and the applicant wasn't available at that meeting, and there were some questions that the Plan Commission had, and ultimately, that's what led to it being tabled and bringing it back here tonight to this group to vote on. So that's a little bit of the background. There's information in the packet. Essentially, what the applicant is asking for is a variance because for three things. As you're looking at the site plan that was given to you, the front corner of the house is 15 feet off the lot line. It's supposed to be 20-foot front setback. It's 3 foot on the one side off the alley. It's supposed to be 4 feet on the side, and then the other point there is on the side yard setback is within 4 feet of the side yard. So there's really the two side yards and the front yard are the critical issues. I remember discussion we had at the previous one. Could they alter the site plan to essentially fit this lot? And I'll let Steve explain why they've proposed what they proposed. One of the things I looked at just to kind of look at the site, one of the things I've heard consistently from the applicant is that the site it's just got a poor layout and it's hard to make anything work. So one of the things that I did, and I called it setback estimates. I took our GIS site and I printed it to scale where it's 1 inch equals 20 feet. And you can kind of see on there what it looks like. And really the critical issue here is that as you're getting kind of on the northern side of the site where the alley meets Redbud Trail, it pinches and it makes it more of a triangular shape. So it's hard to, I can see what the applicant is saying because it's hard to fit something on the site with that building envelope without making it considerably smaller. So that's just something I wanted to share. I just looked at that, and I guess with that, I'll let Steve go up and answer any questions you may have. If you want to provide any overview from your perspective.
Yeah, do you want me to give a little
little reasoning like why we're proposing the building?
Sure. Well, one thing the email that Steve sent to me after the last meeting, I also included in your packets one of probably the third paragraph down where he talks about benefit from the challenge they had and talking about the ranch. That was one of the other things I wanted to hit on, but I'll let him explain it more clearly and better than I would, so.
Okay.
Take it away, please.
So this development's called the Woods at Highland Ridge. We vacated an existing condominium plat that was on that site, and we established these single-family homes that were targeting towards empty nesters and early home buyers, as if you will. And one of the things that we sold to the people that have already purchased properties from us, and we've had this rhetoric from the beginning, is that we're going to have typical homes of about 1,200 square feet, ranches, 2-car garages on the perimeter of Redbud Trail, right along here. So on this section here and all around the farther circle of the property here are all going to be like-kind properties. And so we pitch this to people. We want to make sure that we maintain what we've been selling them and what they've bought into. So we want to keep that integrity intact. So the lot that we're in question here tonight is this lot right here. So lot 10. So our intent is to uphold the promise that we made to the people that have bought in previously and try to get a 1,200 square foot ranch, something that's like kind of the properties that they've already purchased, and maintain a consistency on that street of appraisal rates, similar square footage, similar demographic that they're buying into the neighborhood. So that being said, this is a challenging little lot to try to fit something in. It's a trapezoid, like Matt said. The setbacks, even though we've given ourselves some liberal setbacks in our PUD, it still creates a challenge as it gets to the back of the lot. I apologize if you can't see us all clearly. The original plan was to put a 2-story house on here, and if you can look closely at the back, we're not meeting setback on that property either, and that's the smallest property that we have currently designed from our plan book. So, sorry guys. So in the back, I don't believe that would meet setback, and that's scaled. This is a scaled drawing. So this is the smallest property that we had previously designed for this property. Smallest house we designed for this property, and we're still having some challenges, even if we were to build that house. Now, that is a 2-story property, and we built one of those on site in speculation, and we had it up there for about 1.5 years as a model home, and we found very little interest in it. So we kind of moved away from that property, sold the model home, and we're devoting our time towards ranches. So that's the reasoning why we're proposing going back to a 1,200 square foot ranch on this property. So despite some of the challenges that are there, the house does sit obviously within the confines of the lot. If you look at the front corner of the house, the majority of it does meet the 20-foot setback. The one corner of the garage is where we had to ask for 15. The 3-foot setback, if I can go back to the map, doesn't go up against an adjoining house. It goes up against this access drive, this alleyway that we're going to be building here. And so you can see the lot lines there. And so we will have some additional green space that'll be on city property before that actually hits the road. So we have a little bit more space there than the 3 feet would lend you to believe. So you can see there, the lot lines there, the alleyway actually sits into the city property a little bit more. So although you'll have 3 feet on the side of the house, you'll have an additional few feet there, which will give us 5-6 feet before you get to the alleyway. So that's the 3-foot setback that we're asking for there. Now in the back of the house where that corner clips, that's right here. And you notice that the majority of the house sits 15 feet away from the back of the lot line where it's squared off. So right here. The nearest house to that is another 5 feet away into her own lot line, and so we actually have 20 feet in between the back of this proposed dwelling. So it would be right here, Uriah. So the distance between the houses would actually be 4.5 plus the 15, so there's about 20 feet between the houses. So while most of the rest of the houses in this neighborhood sit within 11 feet of each other, this one's still going to have an ample backyard of about 15 feet, or I'm sorry, 20 before it hits property. So the back of the house, right here is actually parallel with this lot line right there. And you can see that it would sit about 20 feet away from her house. No, you had it oriented correctly, if you set it just like that. And then 15, and then she has about 4.5 feet in this little chunk here, and then her lot line got lined out over there, but, you know, as far as green space around the houses, there's gonna be a little bit more than typical. You can see these houses here are actually sitting about 9 feet away from each other, and then they have about a 13-foot backyard. There'll be 15, almost 20 feet there in this property. So just to kind of give you a breakdown of how that house sits on the lot, and how that lot is oriented, compared to the ones that are next to it. I guess I can answer any questions that anybody might have had.
Go ahead, Tom.
Just clarification, what's on this drawing
Right, you're
is the
right. Mike.
current proposed layout. The one that
That's
you
the
had on the
variance that we're
colorized one
requesting.
was the one from
Yeah,
earlier where it had a two-story. Okay,
yep.
all right.
Steve, what would happen if you downsized it, the house a little bit? Would it cause a problem for selling it then?
Yeah, I think
or
it
what?
would, and again, we're talking about maintaining the value of the houses that are adjacent to it. So we have all 1,200 square foot houses, which is a small house. The way we designed it, we feel like it's a decent sized property. We take it down smaller, in square footage and try to maintain it like kind, 2-car garage, 2-bathroom, 2-bedroom house. Taking square footage out of it would reduce the value of that, I think, greatly. I don't think it would be as desirable of a property.
Okay.
So, I do have a set of blueprints, actually I have two, if anybody wants to see the
Yes, I was gonna ask.
blueprint from out there. Sure. Get those. Take a look.
Sure.
That's a big sheet of paper for you, So Bob, to answer your question directly, so to take 2 feet out of this property, this is the foundation plan. You can-
Stapled on this end.
Yeah. If I pull this in, I start losing hallway, you know, to maintain a decent bathroom, I'm losing hallway, I'm losing kitchen space. You know, accessibility, general code, building code, I start losing things. This better in the front, you can see it's already only 9 foot by 10 foot. So to take 2 feet out of this house would greatly diminish, the size of that bedroom. This bedroom here is 11 by 14. Again, if you took a foot out of that one, you're looking at 10 by 14, it becomes kind of a hallway.
That's the driveway?
Up here, it so becomes almost unusable as a bedroom, so even if you take a foot out of it. The garage themselves, 12 feet wide, that's concrete to concrete, so the inside of that garage is actually a little bit smaller than that. So that becomes a little bit of a issue too.
Now, Steve, you said do you have several layouts, or is this a fairly standard, this is like the standard layout for the entire development?
So we developed 4 houses for this neighborhood for properties that are gonna ring Redbud Trail. So we had a 1-car garage, a 1-car garage, 2-bedroom ranch, 2-car garage, 2-bedroom ranch, 1-car, 2-story, 2-car, 2-story. This one was designed specifically to try to get something of like kind on this lot. And so it was challenging nonetheless. So it's a bit of a deviation from what we originally proposed on that site, but again, it was an attempt to try to shoehorn something in there.
And Steve, you said you have currently 2 lots that are sold?
No, we have 14 houses standing on that property. Out of the 27 proposed lots on this piece of, within the development, we have 14 that are up, finished, and 13 out of 14 of them are sold.
Okay.
Go ahead, Bob, sorry.
I've got a question for you, Matt, and maybe you can't answer it with the length of time that you've been here, but maybe somebody else that's been here a while can. If I remember right, in Uriah, you'd probably be able to answer this. Didn't we have to go through some setback problems with another lot? Like within the last couple
In
of
this
years?
development?
I thought so.
I don't remember in this development, but did you
We've
say,
we've
Steve, that
requested no
there
other
is-
variances within this development, no.
Okay. Was there any other one in town? We had something in town that was going on.
Okay, yeah. Yes, there was one in town that we had, but I don't know, this kind of gets into my view on the whole thing, but a spot location somewhere in town where it's maybe an older lot and it's been vacant for some time and, you know, there's an obvious, look, it's not getting developed unless something gives. In an older section of town,
Yeah, I just
Yeah.
don't wanna get a trend going here that, okay, we do it for this one, we did it for the other one, we do it for this one. A couple of years down the road, we end up having to do it again, and we're actually shooting ourselves in
Yeah.
the foot, maybe?
Yeah, and I think I can answer, as far as our development team goes, we would pay a lot more attention to the way that our lots are divided out. And when they're parceled out, we would take a much harder look at it and say, you know what, that's something that we need to change. You know, we'd go back to MSA. MSA does some of our engineering work, so we'd go back to them and say, let's change the layout of this so that we don't have to come back before the council to do these types of things again. So, you know, it creates nothing but a delay for us, so it's not something that we actively would want to pursue.
And just to add that typically this group does not hear variances. I think the only place in the code where it says this group does is the parking exemption that we reviewed earlier this year for the Columbus self-storage. And as I said previously, you know, due to the nature of how the PUD was recorded, that's why we're coming to this group instead of the Board of Zoning Appeals. So just wanted to share that, just to keep in mind.
please clarify which lots in here have already been granted a variance?
None.
None? Oh,
No,
okay.
they've met everything the code so far.
Okay,
Everything's been
this
fine,
is-
yeah.
yeah.
We've not requested any other variances
Yeah.
for any lot.
Okay,
We've
I'm
been
sorry,
absolutely
I
fine.
thought when you guys said that there were other ones that were granted in here,
No.
maybe it was just
No.
that we've granted other variances. Yes.
Yep.
All right.
Can I ask a question? I'm a little confused, and I just want to clarify the question that Uriah just asked, is that there's code, but then there's set zoning requirements for this PUD that can vary from standard code as long as the
Yes.
PUD is accepted that way, is that
Yeah,
correct?
Correct.
Okay.
The PUD is essentially zoning code specifically for a site.
For that development?
And it's agreed upon between the developer and the city. And the preferred way to do it is the city will pass an ordinance and it will look a lot like zoning code. Yeah, we did it for Ottery. For whatever reason, in 2006, when this was first adopted, it wasn't done via ordinance. And when it was amended, it wasn't adopted via ordinance. So it never really was codified in the zoning code. And that's, after discussions with Paul, that's why we're here, so.
Okay.
We're treating this as a PUD with the ordinances stated on the face of the, or with the setbacks stated on the face of the plat, is how we're
Correct.
treating this.
Yes.
And that's how every other building that's been built in
Correct.
here has gone by.
That's correct.
Great. Okay. I don't know, I've got a set of questions.
Sure.
If I can just hammer them off. Do you have a buyer for this?
No, we haven't advertised it until we saw that we could get any sort of, agreement with the city.
Excellent, appreciated. Are there any buildings built along Western on that top tier of lots?
No. That's
Okay.
gonna be the last phase of that development.
Sure, okay. And then how do you anticipate those to end up looking? Similar to these facing Western and having the driveway come off the alley?
They're actually, so the way that these buildings are all designed, is that the front door and the garage door face the same direction, so those will all face the alleyway. Both the garage and their front entry.
Okay. And the reason I'm asking about that, it seems unrelated, but
Yeah,
more or less that alley is gonna be the roadway.
that alleyway's
'Cause
gonna be 7 lots,
The more
yep.
I looked at this, I mean, I did the same thing, you know, I took a square and
Yep,
jiggered it around on here and, yeah, it doesn't quite fit that way, yeah, it doesn't quite fit that way, blah, 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 blah.
yep,
I'm most concerned about varying the setback from Redbud Trail. And, I mean, that even kind of plays into your thing about consistency with the rest of the development. You know, you're gonna have one with a corner that's kind
yeah,
of looking a little funky. And then the 4-foot setback to that adjoining lot 11.
the
I'm-
corner, yeah.
I'm actually much less concerned, or was less concerned about the idea of maybe putting the building right up to the alleyway line, if that was gonna be a fairly narrow alley and, you know, that kind of thing. It makes me less comfortable to be more comfortable with that, knowing that that's more or less gonna be the street for the rest of those lots.
Yeah, we simply just can't have that many entrances onto Western being a county highway.
Yeah, right, no,
Yeah.
I figured the garages were gonna be around the back, but maybe that the front yards would still face northward.
Right, yeah.
But anyway.
Well, that'll probably end up being their front yard, it'll be their recreational space, but, you know, by all rights, it'll be their rear-facing yard, yeah.
Sure. Usually in variance language in a code, it's, and this is where I need your guidance, is that usually variances can't be granted for something self-created. Usually you try to steer around that like the plague.
Wow. You mean self-created by the fact that they platted
A
the
hardship
lot?
that's self-created. And I, you know,
That hasn't
I
been.
don't want to sound harsh, but this has all been, you know, kind of a, I mean, it's a PUD, it's a planned unit development. This is something that's, that the whole genesis has been one plan from the beginning. And I really,
As far as the variances being self-created, that hasn't, this is unique compared, it's hard to compare it
right,
to
what I'm
what's
saying is that
happened with-
usually language in zoning codes is written something like a variance shall not be granted for a hardship that's self-created.
I would have to look at our,
All right.
I don't remember anything like that. But I mean, usually the hardship, that you're looking at a hardship versus the convenience of it all. That's usually where it comes down to for Board of Zoning Appeals.
How, I know you guys looked at the interior layout of this. Is there any opportunity for, because the buildable space within the setbacks on this lot are actually by area, by square foot. It's the shape that's the problem, right?
Yeah.
By square footage,
Trapezoid.
you've got a fairly good amount of area. You know, is there, like, just taking this layout, flipping it and elongating this portion at the, you know, at the expense of this? I'm on board with what you're saying about not changing the sizes of the rooms, right? You start shaving off 2 feet on a room
Comes
that's
unsaleable,
maybe
right,
not
yeah.
that large to begin with. You're losing what you're building it for.
Right.
But it seemed like it was fairly, the layout was fairly split down the middle. You know, fairly split down the middle, and if you offset what would be the side with the living room, bedroom, and kitchen, you know, front to back type of offset, and flipped so that the garage were on the right-hand side as you're looking at it,
Still wouldn't work.
still wouldn't work, yeah, right. Okay.
Because now you'd actually be encroaching even more than the 15 feet that we're requesting, just to get that 49-foot length in anywhere. It's almost got to be on the right-hand side.
What if it got slid all the way to the alley line? I mean, like, 0 lot line type of business.
Yeah, then you would be fine on the left
but still.
As
not
we're
on
looking
front.
at it, as we're looking at the drawing here, so on the side that reads 72.06 feet, if we slid it over another 3 feet, we'd be obviously, probably violating that a little bit. And I think you would be achieving the 20-foot setback in the front. Because now that garage corner, that setback garage corner, we tried to set that back so we can gain that second garage and not offset that too much more, or upset the cart, I guess, too much more.
Yeah.
I think that would fall closer to 20 feet. I can't guarantee without sketching it out that it would, but if we went all the way over, then yeah, we're much closer on the other two.
Well, I'm just gonna sit here and think. I don't know if
I've got
you guys wanna
I've got
watch
a
me do
question,
it.
just for clarification.
Yeah.
So if I have this oriented correctly, this long side of the lot, that's where the alley is gonna be running right here?
That's correct,
And
Mike.
then you've got 3.5, or 3-foot setback?
3 foot setback, yep.
And since there's not a lot of detail on this, I can't really read. But what is that alley gonna look like? Is there gonna be sidewalks? Is there gonna be green space? Is there gonna be terrace?
Yeah, this will give you a little bit more detail. We go back to this map here.
Okay.
And so, it's just an asphalt drive. There's no curb or gutter that's required on it. That's already been decided with the city. And so it's just gonna be an asphalt drive back here. You can see the lot lines here. And then there's a little bit of green space between the lot lines, lot line and the alleyway there.
How much space?
It looks to me, if this is scaled out correctly, that looks like it's anywhere from 3 to 4 feet.
Okay,
Yeah,
all right,
but not much more than that.
okay. Thanks.
That's helpful.
It does, it's hard to see that on this little.
He was just asking how much space was. And then, yeah, then it's just an asphalt drive. Fine,
I was looking with the mayor.
got it? I don't want to interrupt you, Ryan.
It just doesn't seem like there's a good option to shift it anywhere, obviously, because I think getting closer to the alley too, you don't have a curb and gutter, you don't have a sidewalk, you know, it's pretty tight there already. The other question I have is then on this side here,
Yeah.
what is the actual measurement that you have for a setback on that right now? Because I think it shows, this dotted line, I think, says 5-foot setback.
Sure.
But the corner's poking through there, so where
A
you
little
act-
bit's probably only sitting about 1.5, 2 feet off the lot line, yeah.
Okay, but it's
Yep.
just that corner, that tip?
Yep.
Okay,
And then, just to clarify, that corner would be jutting out right about where my fingertip is.
okay,
And you can see, again, there's a lot of clear green space between it, I mean, so it's not like it's pressing up against
Another-
another structure.
Okay.
It's just up tight against the lot line, so.
okay.
The plat also shows a 4-foot setback along what would be the left and even back-ish, that short piece. So the plat shows a setback setup that's different than what's shown on here. Yeah, so like the plat shows this.
Yeah, I was just
So-
showing that that's 15 feet.
Yeah, right.
That's why I didn't continue that dotted line.
Here's what I'm thinking. I don't like violating the front setback, and I don't like violating that side setback next to that building, right? What right now we have is a situation where none of the properties on the other side of that alley are yet developed. Have you dropped footprints on those? To see
Have we
how,
established any?
yeah, to see
No.
how tight or loose those are, right? I guess maybe that that'd be maybe some good advice in light of the
Right.
problem here. Those are
No.
all fairly uniform though, and
They're all fairly uniform. They fit the model that we have proposed
Right.
for there.
nine's a weird shape, but not
Not in a bad way.
converging weird
It's
like
just
this one
wider.
is.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. It kind of has a standard shape. It just kind of enveloped a little bit of the leftover green space there.
Right, right. I'm of the mind of, I'd like to see this layout, this home layout, meeting the 20-foot front, meeting that 4-foot side, and then how much is it hanging over into the alley? Because frankly, we'd have a shot at just relocating that alley. I say just, I mean, need a certified survey or some description to convey that and shift it.
Shift the alleyway, the
Right,
actual
right.
paved part of the alley, just
Yeah,
move it over.
I wouldn't wanna take, so much at the expense of that other row of lots, because then suddenly
Yeah.
you've just recreated a whole different set of problems. That's why I'd wanna see it first before I was like, oh yeah, let's do it. And I'd still be willing, even with that, I'd be willing to put that side of the building,
Zero lot line it.
0 lot line.
Now, when you say that, would that be the actual foundation or would that be the eave of that building?
Let's go with the eave.
With the eave, so the foundation's
So you've
still
got- so
sitting a
you've got clear
foot,
overhead,
yeah.
yeah,
So any part of the building is not
Yeah.
obstructing, right?
Right.
Okay.
right,
So we need a 1 foot setback
right.
to make that work.
So I think that would achieve a building that's not, I mean, I've driven through there, a few different times,
Sure.
just cause that's what I do. You'd keep the building set back from Red Bud, which is already a narrow street and you're already dealing with a fairly close setback there. And then you'd maintain that space between the buildings, which I know is always important for, fire
Yeah.
safety and stuff like that. And then, we were working on the side that we still have some possible wiggle room. But I'd wanna see how that lays out first before giving it the thumbs up. I know that sticks it another month.
All right, well,
I don't know, those are my
yeah,
very candid thoughts.
yep.
I'm just gonna throw this out. If we cannot come up with a reasonable solution to the dilemma we've got here, would there be a huge problem turning it into a park? I'm sure you're gonna have, maybe you'll have some younger people that are in there, they'll have kids, so on and so forth down the road. Otherwise, the closest place is basically over the Fireman's Park for anybody.
Yeah,
Just a quick note, Enterpac Park,
Warner Street.
over off Warner Street was gonna
Oh,
be
okay.
coming to fruition here, and I haven't driven past there recently, it's
Yeah.
been approved. Probably, Mayor, you probably know more about the timing on that than I do.
Okay.
I know it was recently
wasn't aware of
approved,
it.
I know it was approved at council recently, and quite frankly, I can't remember if it was gonna break ground this year or
I
next
think I
year.
heard this year. yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I'm sorry
But
I wasn't
that-
aware of it.
No, yeah, just,
I'm not sure of the process in putting together a PUD, but I'm just assuming that there had to be dedicated green space when that PUD was approved? Or has that been identified already in this development?
That's usually the case. I don't know the details here, but I would guess that there's stormwater ponds and there was some wetland area, and I would
Yeah.
guess that the whole sort of aggregate area of that satisfied the green space requirement.
yep. So that's
This,
outlet.
the big
Right
chunk.
here, and then access road, and those drainage ponds that Uriah was mentioning are back here within that public outlet. So it sits just south of the development. And that was deeded over to the city, so the city has control of that.
Steve, while you have that up, what is the white kind of rectangle to the left there at the intersection? Is that green space up there?
No, this is a existing house, so there was, when this was a condominium plat.
Okay.
They built condos here, here, and here.
Yep.
And so that is an existing
Okay,
building that was part of that original condominium development.
okay, thank you. I like your idea, Bob, but I guess as developers, they can make more money off of selling a house than.
Well, it kind of erodes our financial plan,
Yeah.
yeah, so we do have to pay for that alleyway yet, so to turn something over at this point would be,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, I get that. I like Uriah's approach, I guess, to a certain degree, but I have no idea whether it's going to be easier, it's gotta be cheaper to build a square house than a triangular house, regardless.
yeah.
Just per square foot, it's gonna
Yeah.
cost more. But how much is it gonna cost to go through the process of shifting an alley at this point? I don't know. Is
Right,
that
well, if you
easy?
could just shift the alley within the prescribed dimensions of the area it's supposed to go into now without changing any of the other lot lines, it's just a matter of shifting it. If Uriah is proposing replatting it, that can be fairly costly, and I'm sure that Jim and I would reject that and look for other options.
Is it just a CSM revision to change the alley? Or, I mean, what do you technically,
It's-
what process?
It's dedicated to the public, so we'd have to go through a vacation.
Yeah,
You'd vacate, and then you'd need to, yeah, how would you do that? Boy, my idea sounded so good before.
yeah,
You'd have to vacate and replat, and all the owners of those other buildings along Red Bud would have to sign.
yeah. It could get tedious.
That's why I'm bringing it up now.
Yeah.
I mean, you could sell the first triangular house in Columbus maybe,
Uh-huh.
at
Yeah.
a premium, or go through the process of vacating and all that. That's,
Right,
I guess.
Who wouldn't want to live in an obelisk?
I'd give it a try for a while.
Circular, maybe we could go circular.
We've told those before.
Yeah, yeah.
Matt, you had mentioned last time that this is recommendation to council, correct?
Yes.
And council can decide to do what council wants to do, right?
Well, correct. They can always override any of the plan commission's recommendations.
Uriah, when
Yeah.
you're talking, you had your two major concerns, the setback up front and along the other lot line. Primarily, what are your concerns when you're thinking about that?
Along the lot line, it's space to the adjacent building. So tell me again, Steve, will you have a full 8 feet between this footprint and the next building?
Yeah, you'll have over 20 feet.
You will,
Yeah. You want to see that on the,
yeah. I didn't think that typical layout left that much on the side.
So the way that house is drawn like this.
Oh, because it's shifted so far forward. Okay.
And this is the corner that you're concerned about right here. And you can see we had a 15-foot here, and you have an additional 4 right there, so you're about 19 feet. So, although, like I mentioned before, it is encroaching on its own lot line and the neighbor's lot line, the distance between the buildings here is 9 feet.
Okay.
Clearly,
There's that dog leg that provides so much,
yeah, right.
and this is already under different ownership.
This is built. Another
Yeah,
ownership.
right, okay.
Correct, yep. Just to see what he was talking about. You wanted to know where this corner was encroaching on the lot line. You wanted to know how close it was to the adjacent building. We have 15 feet on the plans to the back of its own lot, and then you have about another 4 feet right there. So you end up with about 19 feet in between the buildings, where typically the proximity from this building to the one next to it is about 9 feet. So it's over double.
And that's because you've shifted it over. The orientation on the lot here is because you've got
So this corner here, Mike?
Yep,
Is this corner right there.
okay.
So Uriah wants to make sure if we're getting that close to that lot line, how close are we getting to the next door building? We're not getting any closer because we're 15 feet here within its own,
Yep,
and then there's about another 4 feet there.
okay.
That's what I said. Okay.
And then Uriah, on the front being where it would be 15 instead of 20. I guess I'm just want to make sure that I'm understanding the primary concern on that as well.
Yeah, that's definitely a consistency thing with just traveled way setbacks.
So is that an aesthetic thing, or is that safety close to the road? What?
Mainly aesthetics, some safety.
Yeah, the majority of the house meets the setback. It's just that bottom left corner there, that's where,
Right,
intrudes
and
on that,
you
yeah.
can easily see that sort of over the average, over the face of the house.
Yeah,
It would average more than 20 feet
yep.
away.
And on the front, there are sidewalks, I'm assuming, out front then?
Not on that side, Mike, it's only on the south side of Redbud Trail,
Oh,
are the
okay.
sidewalks, and so, for whatever reason, and I don't recall what the reasoning was, when we set up the developer's agreement with the city for this particular development, we decided to run them only on the southern perimeter of Redbud
Okay.
Trail. So they do extend from Avalon all the way up to Western, down along there.
Okay,
And then there's another set of sidewalks that runs up Avalon here,
okay,
and nothing on either circle.
okay.
And Steve, did you the adjacent lot 11? Is that is that you said that one was
Occupied?
occupied, and would there be any issues with the current owner as far as getting any sort of variance on that lot line?
I don't think so. I mean, if you wanted us to, we can certainly go to her and see if she had any issues with it. If you want to get a written statement from her, to satisfy that.
I think you raised a good point, because technically, if this was a variance process, they would normally be notified, but since it's going through this, there's no obligation to
No
notify.
obligation to notify.
Correct.
Yeah, but I think at least notifying that one neighbor is probably wise, just so you can prove and say, this is what the plan is, here's how
At
much
least at the
distance.
time of ownership,
Yeah,
we went through the,
it
yeah.
seems like the right thing to do,
Covering the bases.
yeah. Because we may approve it, and then all of a sudden, we've got another problem to deal with in 6 months or a year.
Agreed.
Let's just talk about it
Yeah.
now, yeah.
Well, we'd rather be good neighbors, so that's
Yeah.
fine.
Good suggestion, Mike.
All right, well, I'll make a motion to approve, and I've got a few conditions on it. So I'd make a motion to approve a variance for lot 10. If the applicant takes the following action. Number one, moves the house as far to the back as possible with a 0 lot line allowed at the adjacent lot line to lot 9. 0 lot line inclusive of the eave, okay? So
So-
that'll
wait,
buy some
hold
more
on.
distance to the street.
To the north then, Uriah?
Yeah.
You want me to shift the house to the north?
To the, I guess it would really be to
North-
the west.
Northwest? To the west. Towards
Yeah.
the 26-foot 9-9 section of, lot line?
Correct. Right. Okay, again,
The rear,
right.
okay,
Allow a 0 lot line along lot 11, provided that you get a written concurrence from that neighbor. I like that idea.
Matt? Do you wanna-
So yeah, you want it to move closer to the alley and closer to the back, correct?
Correct.
So you said a lot 11. I thought that was the
Yeah,
neighbor.
sli-
I thought that
sliding
was
it
the
back-
neigh-
sliding
I
it
thought we
back is
wanted
gonna
to
hit
go
that
closer to
angled
the-
line.
Yeah.
So you want me to slide it back and over to the alley, or just back?
Okay, well, so still got to be 10 foot off the rear. So he's got 5 foot there to play with. So you
Yeah,
want
I
him to
think it
move
still will.
Do you, and you're okay with 0, your motion is for 0 lot line if necessary, or up to 0 lot line?
Up to 0 lot line, yeah. Yeah, I'm okay with it along that alley. I feel like that's got the side with breathing room, right?
Yeah.
If something can get
Yep.
jiggered around in there with the alleyway eventually, if even people feel like that's necessary.
Okay.
So, do I need to repeat that?
Just so I'm clear.
Yeah.
You're talking 0 lot line here
Yep.
and here.
Right. So that should allow you to do something like
Correct.
so. Right, and that. Whoa. Is this my pencil?
No. It is. I was trying to figure out where I got it from.
Now you know.
Yeah.
Okay. You know
Okay.
what? Do me a favor. Pass that around.
Go ahead, pass it on the line. I can make that alteration in my office without.
This makes more sense when you can see it.
It's the power of the pencil. Thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I like the idea, Uriah. The only thing I'm worried about is that one of the contingencies is the 0 lot line on what's the perceived alley is. Are we creating work for the next phase of work that's gonna create them a whole bunch of hoops to jump through? Or do we,
I'll defer to you, Steve. I mean,
No, I think we'll just keep the alley shifted as far to the north, inside of the public right of way.
okay,
I mean, we have the ability to take the homes along Highway K and scoot them,
okay,
and then we can keep the alley within its prescribed.
just shift things within the
We'll just
boundaries.
shift it within the body that it's already,
and that's not built, right?
it's not built.
So it's,
Okay,
We just started moving dirt on that, so that's,
no, I mean, the alley.
yeah, right.
Oh,
We
you are?
just
Oh, okay.
Just started working on that.
do you have a,
I have 2 things to potentially add to that, or at least to add for discussion. One would be having some feedback from Davis, because as soon as this alley is developed, it will be turned over to the city and we'll be charged for plowing that. So I don't know if not having, that's right up against it, it's hard to say how much space will be there for the sake of plowing would be a concern, and the other person would be Jason Letha, city engineer. I don't know if there would be any issues with, and I don't know how wide is I guess one thing is how wide is the right of way and what's
How
the
wide's
width?
the alley?
Yeah, the alleyway,
Yeah.
alley.
Yeah, what's
How-
the
what's the
proposed
width?
cross section?
You know what, I didn't bring that information with me, I wasn't really prepared to
Okay.
speak on that. I don't know what the,
I mean, it looks,
The right-of-way width is 36 feet, and compared to Redbud Trail, Redbud's only 40 feet. Right, I'm talking full right-of-way.
Yeah.
You know, not what
okay, so if
travel
the
way would
alley's 36 feet, are we just putting down 24 wide pavement?
I'd have to go back to document, I don't wanna say anything
Is it-
without,
No,
you know,
but.
I don't wanna
tw-
mislead anybody.
No, I know.
Yeah.
But 24 foot wide would probably be a standard, don't you think, for an
I
alley?
agree.
12 foot lanes on each side. So just that, thinking you'd have 12 feet to work with, right?
be. Right.
Okay, I'm just,
Yeah, and
Yeah.
24 is probably fairly liberal for that alley. I bet the traveled way in Redbud is 24.
Yeah, You're talking the full right of way for Redbud includes the sidewalk on the
Yeah.
southern side, yeah.
Right, right.
Yeah, so we can easily shift it north to make sure that there's ample space along that house, so.
I guess I'm, oh, sorry, go ahead, Bob.
Where are the utilities and everything easements gonna be? Are they gonna be in the alleyway area of this development?
The water and sewer for the alleyway run along the northern side of that, the lot, the right of way. I can tell you
Highway
that,
K side of
Yeah.
that alley?
yeah.
Okay.
So here,
That would have been a reason to ask, talk to Jason.
so our water and sewer laterals run right on the top side of the proposed alley.
Where's electric and phone and gas?
Gas right now runs around here, so as we build these, We Energy is stubbing them in, so I'm assuming that they're just gonna come along top side of the road. Electrical, right now, Water and Light brought a substation up to this point, right here. And Eric, Anton told me they're planning on extending that down the side here, so.
They're gonna go on the south side?
What's that?
Are they going on the south side?
No. We already have utilities.
No. South side of your alleyway,
Right here,
north side.
north side, yeah,
So the only two utilities there currently are water and sewer.
correct.
Gas and electric are planned. And regardless, that whole right-of-way, I mean, it says right here, utility easement, you know, so that right-of-way is coincidental with the utility easement already.
Yeah.
So there wasn't an easement running along there's not a utility easement inside of this lot.
Right, but what's it gonna do if you move that alleyway 5 feet to the north? Is your easement, or your utility easements gonna be made smaller? Or are they gonna
They'll be
still
the
be
same
far
size.
enough outside of that there's not gonna be a problem?
It'll still be the same size. The utility easement is the right-of-way.
Right, but you've got, here's the width of the whole easement. So now you take this much, and that's where your electric and water and sewer and everything are. So this leaves you the road, but now if you move that road to the north, you're making it smaller, but are you gonna encroach on that easement? It's not like you're having
The road can be within the easement.
it's not like you've got
It's pretty,
10-foot area for tree border and then the sidewalk on the road, where you've got all that stuff in that area there. Maybe I ain't asking it quite right, I don't know.
I do think that it would be wise to have the city engineer just look at that, just for the utility sake, you know. And what we're doing here is making a recommendation to the city council with a laundry list of things that's not going to be completed within a couple of days, and I don't like to hold things up, Steve. I'm sure, I don't know how close you are to wanting to break ground out there, but I feel like notifying the adjacent neighbor and getting feedback from them.
Yeah.
And running this by Davis about any snow plowing issues and kind of identifying what that alley could potentially look like. Would
Sure.
be of a great benefit for us to see.
okay.
You do have a cross-section planned already, or is that still kind of fluid?
I think it's a little fluid, but I do
Okay.
think that we've developed it. I know we've talked to Todd about it, so,
Okay.
I can touch base with him and see what he
Well,
has.
if it's still in the stage of being fluid, maybe it can be fluid in the
Yeah.
way that accommodates, so.
Yep,
Anyway, but yeah, I would add those two things to the conditions on the recommendation.
And I think just having an updated version of this with Uriah's recommendation, I guess, is if you try to
yeah, new
shift
site
that up,
plan, showing it where it's actually gonna
show that
sit.
what it looks like in there, show what any potential movement of the alley and where the utilities are in there, I think gives us
Okay.
all some reassurance that we're not
Okay.
missing something.
Yeah, sure.
So I don't know what official motion we would need to make if we're not making a recommendation to city council, or making a motion to request more information, and that we,
Well, his motion was to approve. We
Yeah.
don't have a second.
With
I
it,
don't,
okay.
well, if we do, I didn't record it.
Okay.
But that was, basically to move the structure to the 10-foot setback on the rear, 0 lot line on the alley, And also get approval from the owner of lot 11.
11.
And then have some sign off from both Davis Clark and Jason Letha regarding, plowing
Utilities.
and, public works, and then also the utility side of things. Is that?
I
is that
so move
accurately-
with those recommendations, yes.
So,
My concern again, though, is that if we approve it with those contingencies, it's not gonna come back here, and it's all gonna be brought to the city council for verifying that. Are you comfortable with that?
The only way it would be, I mean, it would not be an approval if those conditions were not met.
Right.
Okay.
so, yeah, we'd have to have email, letter, whatever, from both Jason and Davis.
Okay.
That I would put in the packet to council, and then obviously
Sure.
whatever concurrent, or whatever letter we got from the owner of lot 11, we would put in the packet. And then obviously we'd need a revised site plan showing where the new structure would be on the lot. So all those things would have to be in your packet.
Okay.
So it wouldn't get
The-
forwarded to council until those
Correct.
things were in hand.
Theoretically
That makes
speaking,
perfect sense.
the next council meeting is October 2nd. The deadline to get packets out is Friday, the Friday before that, which would be the 29th.
28th.
28th? No. Well, either way, I am at a conference, so I'm out of the office after Wednesday of this week, so that pushes it out, but I could have something prepared if everything was given to Patrick by that Friday to get the packets out.
By the 29th.
Yeah, so, to get on that. Otherwise, you'd be waiting till the October 16th council meeting, if we can't get it in the next week.
Okay.
And we still have obviously Friday, and then, so I mean, there's
Okay.
theoretically, I mean, I can email Davis and Jason as soon as, tomorrow morning and get their feedback, and hopefully they'll respond relatively quickly.
Sure.
I don't know about the owner of lot 11. I assume
I can
they,
get a hold of her pretty
Yeah.
readily, so.
so,
I could have it by next Friday.
so then the only other issue would be having a revised site plan, which I assume that they could crank out fairly
I can
quickly.
get that by Friday as well.
Sounds good. Then we can hopefully make some progress. And
Okay.
we have a motion, but not a second, and I do want to make sure that we reiterate the motion so we have all the details, because I think I heard something different from you about the rear setback versus what you had said. Did you say 10 feet on the rear?
Yeah, let's maintain that rear 10 feet. I don't think there's any danger of it. I think the
No,
width, I
okay.
think the
No.
width of the house is such that you wouldn't be able to
yeah.
get it any closer than 10 feet before you cross those other couple lines.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I guess I interpreted his meaning that going all the way back to the setback for the
Okay.
rear is what I thought he said, but I might have,
Okay.
Right.
is that what you, that's what
My
you meant,
intent
right?
is to have it as far back on the lot, away from Redbud Trail as you can, and allow those
Yeah.
two side lines to be zero
Mm-hmm.
setback lines.
The lot width is only 27 feet in the back, so it.
Right, yeah,
It could
you
go all the way
can't-
back anyways,
You
so.
can't get that close.
Okay.
And that we'll have a review of the DPW director, city engineer, and
And the owner of lot
lot
11.
11.
Lot 11.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Agreed.
Just a point of clarification, I should say up to 10 feet, because if they can, as long as they're, you just want them to be 20 feet off the front, right? So-
I'm not even saying 20 feet off the front is
As far
is
as,
possible,
Okay,
so,
you're, okay, so
So-
just push it back to 10 feet.
yeah. So really,
0
we're
feet.
waiving 3 of the 4 lot line setbacks. And I'm only not waiving the 4th is because I just don't think you can get that close to that back line, so.
Okay. Well, it might be 2 of the 4, because you might get this side yard setback once you push everything. Well, if you're pushing it back, you probably won't. Anyways, we got it, right? You want me to reread it again?
I think we'll just read it, and then if someone wants to make
Okay.
a second.
All right, so the motion is to move the proposed structure up to 10 feet off the rear lot line, up to 0 feet off the, I don't have to say 0 feet, 0 feet off the alley, which would be I guess the north side of the lot. get concurrence from the owner of Lot 11, and get concurrence from Public Works Director Davis Clark, and also get concurrence from City Engineer Jason Letha.
So move.
Do we have a second?
I second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on that motion? Everyone understands the intent here? All right. Bob, did you have any comments?
I still don't feel comfortable of us not being able to see the changes in black and white before it goes to council. We've held up other projects because we did not get to see stuff until it was brought back completed, and we've let some other ones go before everything was completed with just recommendations. I just don't feel comfortable with this project right here until we can see that everything is, the i's are dotted and the t's are all crossed. Because otherwise, potentially, we're setting a precedence, and Steve said they aren't gonna have any other problems in this subdivision if they're working, but who knows down the road, 5 years from now or whatever, you may have something else, another strange incident come up that, okay, we did it here, we can do it for that one. You know,
I appreciate your comment, Bob. I know sometimes when you're making an exception, you feel like you could also be setting a precedent as well. My main concern is that if the council sees this, everything will have been taken care of. You know, I'm not gonna be able to explain this entire conversation to the city council when it comes up for approval. So I have faith that everything that needs to be covered is gonna be covered, and if it's not covered, the city council won't be having the conversation.
Yeah, and I'll be there to answer the questions, and also I'd ask that, ask the applicant to come,
Yeah.
just in case there were any questions.
Yeah.
But, I mean, the only other thing I could think of just to, in time, maybe you move the October Plan Commission meeting up, so then it still would happen before the last October council meeting if needed. Because right now, the last council meeting in October is October 16th, and Plan Commission is scheduled for October 18th. So that means they'd wait till like November. So then you're kind of putting them out of building season, so.
Yeah.
I, you know, just to be respectful of
And,
their
and,
request.
and I think depending upon how the process works, if you run into a snag or discover something, Bob, that isn't what we expected,
Yeah.
there's no reason it couldn't come back here if everything's not ready, you know, for the next council meeting. I mean, I think we're kind of just trying to keep the wheels in motion, so if everything falls together, it can happen. But if the Ts aren't crossed and the Is aren't dotted, it's gonna have to come back here to fix any and discuss any of those issues that haven't been.
Yeah,
Corrected.
if one of the conditions can't be met, you
Yep.
know,
Correct.
if Davis has some comments or something like that, you know,
Yep.
you can't meet all the conditions, it doesn't go to council, it comes
Yep.
back.
And I just think, Bob, that, you know, we spent more than an hour kind of doing our due diligence and looking at this case as this case exists, and in the future, if another case comes up, we'll review that, and if it makes sense, we move forward, and if it doesn't, then we don't. So that's just my thoughts on it.
Uriah, did you have any further comments?
I was just gonna say, I scaled that out and put that on paper.
All right, we
That-
do
that
still
should
have
be
a
pretty
motion and a
close to-
second
That should be pretty close to what.
to approve with the contingencies as read. I think we'll take a roll call on this, Matt,
Yeah.
if you don't mind.
Oh, here. Hanson,
Aye.
Tylen,
Aye.
Monday,
Yes.
Tome,
Aye.
and Zepatakti.
no.
Okay, motion passed 4-1.
All right, where am I gonna find my agenda here? Okay, so there's been a recommendation made to the common council with contingencies. If the contingencies are met, it will go to the city council. If there are any issues that come about with those suggestions, it will, Matt can notify us. We can
Yeah.
bring it back here and discuss further. So, thanks for coming in, Steve. It was great to have you here and have all the plans and
Yeah.
sites to look at. I think that helped us get
Yeah,
through one
Yeah.
here. So,
Thanks, everybody, as well. Respect all of your opinions and your time, and appreciate the opportunity to be able to discuss this further. So,
thanks, Steve.
all right.
All right, number 8 then is new business. Doesn't look like we have anything unless there was something
Nope.
you had, Matt, no?
Just a quick update, though. The citizen engagement team put together their RFP, and it's out there right now, and we're waiting for some the responses, and that process will kick off, and that'll lead to the citizen engagement. I was telling the mayor earlier today that I've done a lot of the demographics and a lot of the baseline stuff for like the things that won't change for the comp plan, and I'm going to start bringing it to this group for review. So you're going to get a lot of boring documents to read that shows, population projections, housing, economic development stats, natural resources, and just kind of your basic, if you've been through the comp plan process before, you kind of know, I'm sure Uriah knows all about it. So that will be coming up here. And so, some of these documents I just need to start formatting and putting together and getting drafts in front of you for your comments. Obviously, as the feedback we get through the citizen engagement team and through that process, once we get that feedback, that will then drive the issues that will be in the plan, and then the issues will lead to the goals, objectives, and policies, and those will be discussed at this group at a later date once we get that feedback. So just thought to give that update.
Super. Bob?
Just a quick question before we go to number 9. It's got to do with the conversation about the possibility of October's Plan Commission meeting. You talked maybe moving it up.
Good.
Would you just gonna have him notify us and if there's gonna be a change in date or have a special one or what?
Well, that discussion was if we decided to have Steve come back with this proposal.
Okay,
My thinking is that way he could at least got his approval by mid-October instead of waiting 2 weeks later into November. But since the motion that Uriah made was approved, we don't need that unless there's
unless
some
you
sort of snafu with the
run into a
site plan
problem with
between now and
something from
then.
Davis or Jason? Or?
Yeah, correct. And if that's the case, maybe I contact everybody and see if they're available on that date. But right now, plan for the regularly scheduled time of October 18th
Okay.
at 6:30.
So, yeah, if we needed to, the second council meeting in October would be the 16th,
Correct.
naturally. So
Yeah.
if something should come up, Matt can notify us if we needed to reschedule to meet before that, if it's needed, but
It always depends on the week. It always depends, some months, the third Thursday is before the third Tuesday, other months it's not. I don't know if there's really a need to ever move this to the second week, so you're always in between council meetings, so you can always get on the next council meeting. I don't sense that that's that big of an issue, but if it ever becomes that way, I'll obviously raise it for discussion at this group, so.
all right, thanks, Matt.
Yep. Oh, do they? Okay.
I'll take a-
I don't have my handy meeting calendar in
Master
front of me, so,
calendar.
yeah.
Unless there's anything else, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
A motion and a second to adjourn. Any discussion on that? If none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We stand adjourned. 7:39. And I showed up a half hour early for the meeting.